The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's Greg Williams. How is everybody? I am unmuting you now. I'll try that again. Hi, everybody. How you doing? I just unmuted you.
Doing great.
Good.
Doing good. Real well, thank you.
We're going to wait a few minutes. We always have some people that kind of come in late because of work obligations, traffic, family issues, health reasons, something more interesting on TV, whatever. So when we officially get started, please remind me to start the recording, because every class, every online class we will record. So that works out well for people that missed a class due to whatever reasons. I don't ask for notes. What I've found over the years that works well, if you're not talking, to keep your mic muted, because it's amazing what they can pick up in the background. I recall, it was probably years ago, teaching a course like this, and this is a relatively small class, but this other class I had close to 20 people, and somebody had their TV on in the background, and it was a rerun of the Jeffersons, and I could hear every single word that George was saying to his wife and his son, and it was clear as day, and the person had walked away from their computer, and I think they didn't realize that their mic was on, and I couldn't get them to, I couldn't figure out who the person was that had the TV on. So I went through and I muted every person individually and eliminated it step by step. And it's interesting because I sent them private messages. I said publicly like this, like, please turn off your TV in the background. I can hear you. And I did that. And then I finally muted them. And then immediately they sent me a text message in the chat saying, somebody muted me. Who did that? Who did that? It's like, I did, because you didn't turn off your TV or mute your mic. So anyway, if you're not speaking, muting your mic is kind of a best practice. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? I think we have either 6 or 7 people registered for the class, and it's possible we might get more. I never know. There's always a lot of activity right before the class starts with people adding and dropping. So I think we're going to have about 7 people in this course, which is good. So we can have lots of good conversations. I'm Greg Williams. I'm the instructor. It's been a while since I taught this class, probably 3 or 4 years. So it doesn't get offered a lot. So I'm glad you're in the class here with us. And I think this is a good class. I enjoy teaching it. One of the big strengths of the class is that we bring in subject matter experts outside of this class, the university, etc. And I think that I've learned that that is probably the biggest strength of the class, because I obviously don't know everything about every best practice that there is in instructional design, training, performance improvement, e-learning in our field. So what I do is I like to use the technique that I call find a successful person. So you find somebody who's been doing a certain thing for a number of years, and you invite them to be a guest speaker. And that works out much better than me trying to figure out what all the best practices are and then try to relay that information to you somehow. So we will have, with most classes, a guest speaker almost every week. There will be a few weeks where we don't, and then the weeks where we don't, we're just going to meet asynchronously. So I'll introduce myself. I think you know who I am, but a little bit about my background. Not that you care, but I've been the director of the program for, oh gosh, almost 14 years now, I think, and also teaching in the program since that time, from 2004. And my background is mostly in training. I used to be, way back when, a high school teacher and a middle school teacher. If anyone's ever taught middle school, my hat's off to you, because that's a tough gig. So I knew I didn't want to do that forever, but I enjoy teaching and training and working directly with people and career issues. So I've been doing this for about 14 years, and it's the best job I've ever had. I enjoy it very much. Hopefully I'm halfway good at it, and they haven't fired me yet. I'll emphasize yet. So that's just a little bit about me. What I would like to do is to hear a little bit from you about who you are, maybe where you are in the program, if you're working, what you do, how long you've been there, and if you have a fun fact about yourself that you want to share. So I'll share. I forgot to share my fun fact. When I was in college as an undergraduate, my work-study job was, I worked at the ice arena, and I went to State University of New York at Plattsburgh. And Plattsburgh, if anyone's familiar with New York State geography, and I'm turning on the record. Oh, the recording is actually on. It started on automatically. So thank you for reminding me, Rebecca. If anybody knows anything about New York State geography, unless you've lived there, you probably don't. Plattsburgh is in the far northeast corner of New York State. It's further north than Lake Placid, believe it or not, like 20 minutes south of the Canadian border. So anyway, it gets cold up there. Hockey's a big deal there. And my fun fact was, I was the Zamboni driver for the ice arena. I had to have the ice done every day by 6 a.m. because the figure skating parents would be pounding on the door to let them in so their kids could get their figure skating lesson. So that's my fun fact. So let's go down our list, and I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, their name, maybe why they're in this program, if they're working, what they do, a little bit about, themselves. And if you have a fun fact, you can share it. You don't have to. I think it's fun. So I'm just going to go in the order of people that are on my little list here and GoToWebinar. So Karen, do you pronounce your last name Tavares? Karen, are you there? Don't have a mic. Oh, okay. All right. Tell you what, I'll leave you for last. Why don't you chat in some of your information just so we know a little bit about who you are. Is that okay? No need to apologize. She's saying she's sorry, I see. Okay, so let's move on to Melody. Melody, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, yes.
Okay. I guess this is my third and I guess fourth class in the program, in the master's program, and because I'm taking 2 classes this summer, so third or fourth. I actually work at UMBC in the biology department.
Okay.
I'm what here calls the head administrator. I kind of do a little bit of everything directly for him. Supervising staff, the office, curriculum management, all of that. And I've been there for 6.5 years, roughly.
Okay.
And fun fact, kind of along the lines of your unusual, I guess, college job, was when I was in high school, I was paid to fly 2-line stunt kites on a beach in Assateague and teach other people how to do the same.
Oh, now how did you learn to fly stunt kites?
I was taught by the owner of the kite store that I worked in, and so we sold the kites in the store, and then we took the people to the beach to show them how to fly.
Oh, cool. I've always thought those kites on the beach were very cool. Lots of good wind, obviously, to fly kites.
Yeah, and they provided all the sunscreen I needed, which was a lot.
All right. All right, now, David, you're at the top of the list, and somehow I missed you. I think I had my scrolling thing down too far. So, David, are you out there?
Yes, I am. I'm here. You meant David Snoots, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Well, hi, to Professor as well as Karen. Good to meet both of you. I'm Dave Snoots. This is my third year in the program, and I believe my sixth class. So it'll be my second elective. Truly, I'm very glad to be taking it. This course sounds a good deal different than the ones that I've taken previously, which have been mostly like asynchronous.
Okay.
So I'm like actually like really digging the whole like synchronous lecture style again. It brings me back, so to speak.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. For the last 2 years, I've worked as an instructional designer for a mid-sized healthcare company. Before that, for the 5 years prior to that, my title was trainer for the same company. But it was just kind of a natural segue. Like I started out pretty much exclusively performing trainings, and then gradually kind of segued into mostly like auditing and like redesigning the trainings. And so yeah, that's where I am. So I've been at it for a bit, but I still have much to learn. And this program has truly been beneficial in that respect. Because I kind of started doing it a lot before I really knew the rules, so to speak. So I started like making trainings where I was really working from like a set of instructions to keep me honest. So yeah.
I think a lot of people do that at first, including myself.
Yeah, certainly. And you like pick up little cool tips and tricks, but it's like certainly always nice to like have that theory to like back it up. And so I've been incredibly grateful for what I've learned from this program so far. As far as fun facts, I've always wanted to drive a Zamboni. Living in this area, I've gone to like 3 or 4 Capitals games each season on average, and like whenever I see the Zambonis come out, I always think like, man, that seems like a great gig. It's nice and cool down there on the ice. You're sitting.
Yeah, they're actually a pretty simple machine. It's pretty straightforward. It's just like a big box that has a blade that scrapes the ice, and then it has a big box that's filled with water, and that it lays down a thin film of water, which obviously turns into ice, and it's pretty simple. You kind of learn by trial and error. When I first started driving it, I remember I looked back and I saw the snow that was getting thrown into the box that was scraped off the ice was kind of pink, and then I realized that we were the Cardinals, and they had a cardinal at center ice, and I shaved off the cardinal's head. So that's why all the ice was pink, because I shaved off the red paint that turned pink because I had my blade digging too deeply, and I didn't know that. And so I learned, and my boss didn't fire me because when I interviewed for the job, he told me, I said, well, Mr. Cassidy, I don't know how to drive a Zamboni. And he said, well, who the heck does? Well, we'll teach you. So they did. So yeah, I'm sure you could drive a Zamboni too if somebody showed you.
Fingers crossed someday.
All right. Okay. Now let's see. We have like 7 people in this class, and what are the odds that you get 2 Rebeccas? How about that? So Rebecca Guerra, am I pronouncing that right, Rebecca? Rebecca Guerra, am I pronouncing that correctly?
There you go. I was trying to get myself off mute. Sorry. Yes, Guerra is how I pronounce my last name. Yes. Good evening. How is everybody?
Good. Now,
Excellent.
Guerra sounds like the name of like a town in Ireland or something to me.
Well, it's a Sicilian name that I married into.
Oh,
my maiden
okay.
name was, yeah, that's right.
Well.
So I have a longer maiden name, which was Peppercorn. So that's a real mouthful. So I'll stick with Don Guerra.
Okay.
So let's see. Just to give you all a little bit of background, I'm very new to ISD. I've only taken one course thus far, and that was just this past spring with Dr. Hodel, and other than that, this is it. So I have very little experience, really. I have done training, you know, without any methodology, so to speak, along my experience and careers. I started my own catering business back in 1994, so I had the responsibility of training a lot of people, whether they were on the front of the house serving guests or helping in the back of the house with making food. But right now I work at UMBC, and I'm in the Dean's office for the College of Natural and Mathematical Sciences. So I have met Melody in my working at UMBC. And so so I wear two really different hats in my role there. I'm the data and events coordinator, so half of my position entails managing a lot of data for an NIH grant that helps students who are majoring in STEM majors. And then the other half of my position is involving special events and putting on symposiums that allow students to have an opportunity to share their research experiences and practice presenting it to their colleagues and getting judged on it.
Okay.
And yeah, and so my fun fact is, let's see, I was raised on a farm. I had goats and sheep and ponies, and I sold my flock of sheep, which at the time was 15, and bought my computer so I could go off to college and use my computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did the job that you work in already exist, or were you the first employee in that?
So my position initially was, no, it was a newly created position. There was a coordinator that had my position before me.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they sort of, the position was sort of clumped together into one. Before that, it was two distinct positions and part-time, and so I have a full-time position.
Yeah, because the event coordination and the data management, I don't really put those in the same job family.
They're so different. You really have to turn your brain in a totally different direction, and it can be challenging, but on the other hand, I get to get up and be more active when I'm in my events role, whereas when I'm in my data management role, I'm pretty well glued to my computer.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Rebecca.
You're very welcome.
And let's see, we have Rebecca Griffin with us also. I'm trying to unmute you, and it's not letting me do it. Attendee says attendee is self-muted. All right.
Is that better?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Hey, it's like that commercial. I can hear you now.
So, good. This is my fifth and sixth class. I took 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, and then 2 in the summer. I work at Erickson Living Management. It's a retirement community, and I work in their IT department. I do their training and instructional design work. I've been there for probably about 14, 15 months. It's been an experience going through the classes and doing the work. I'm realizing a lot of different things that I was doing wrong. I think like David, I was going in and just, developing these programs, just kind of figuring it out on my own, and then taking the classes and realizing, I had half of it, but I needed a little bit more experience and knowledge to actually develop a stronger program. let's see.
Okay.
I guess fun fact. I about 2 years ago, I moved to California. Lived out there for about 9 months. Just being out there was amazing. The plan is later down the line to move back out there. But right now, I'm just sitting still in Maryland.
Okay. Now, do you work at the Catonsville location for Erickson?
I actually work at the UMBC location, which is near the Catonsville. I don't work at the community. I work at the IT at the UMBC location on Research Park Drive.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Understood. All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Did I miss anybody? Now, let's see. I don't know, Karen, if you had a chance to maybe chat in some information about yourself, because I know you didn't have a mic. Oh, I see. Hold here. Let me get back. Here we go. All right. So I'm reading this for Karen. I'm Karen Tavares. I logged into Mac for the first time and didn't realize I didn't have a microphone. I was talking away and realized no one could hear me. I've been in instructional design and training for about 25 years. I started training in the 90s and doing ISD by necessity, but like many others, I said I didn't know any theory or good practices at first. I have learned a lot so far in the program because most of my experience has been development, not so much needs analysis or analysis or design. I'm about 2/3 of the way done. I guess she means in the program. And she's a hobbyist photographer. Currently, former federal employee, about 3 years. Fun fact, I have the world's most adorable granddaughter, Autumn, who is 3.5. That's nice. And she is my only one, and I work very hard to spoil her since this is my first one. I think you're entitled to that. That's my editorial comment. I am a hobbyist photographer. All right. Well, great. I'm sure Autumn gets a lot of pictures of her taken, I would imagine. I would take them if I had grandkids. All right. Karen's saying, oh, yeah. And Karen also mentioned earlier, she said, Zamboni is a fun word. Does anybody know how the Zamboni got named? If you think about it, it makes sense. If something named Zamboni could make sense. Well, I'll cut to the chase. The founder, the inventor of the Zamboni was named Frank J. Zamboni, and he named it after himself. So who knew that? The only reason I did because I drove one. So yes, the inventor of the Zamboni was named Zamboni. Okay, so those are our introductions. We are using GoToWebinar, as you know. Why do we use GoToWebinar? Well, I kind of like it. I get tired of Blackboard. I think it's, maybe a platform. I always like to give people the experience of using maybe something different than they normally would do. So I get a little tired of, Blackboard at times, although it does have Collaborate now Ultra, which is new. I haven't used that a lot, so I need to experiment more with that. And I probably sent you a zillion emails to say, register for the GoToWebinar. So once you're registered, then you'll get automatic reminders saying that, hey, your webinar is starting tomorrow, or your webinar is starting in 1 hour. But have most people used GoToWebinar before, or perhaps not? It doesn't really matter either way. I'm just curious. You chat
Yes.
in? All right, I'm hearing yeses. Is it new to anyone? Which is fine if it is. I'm just curious. All right. So,
I've used it.
okay, so it sounds like most people have used it, but it's, they're all it's pretty similar. I mean, it's made by the same company as GoToMeeting, so if you've used that, it works pretty well. So that's what we'll be using for our live classes. Syllabus, or let's take a look at the syllabus. This is in Blackboard. So if you're looking for the syllabus, it is loaded in Blackboard. and I'm not going to go over it, item by item, word by word, but I'll cover the high level concepts. It's always a good idea to print it, and I always like to tell people these are the things that you need to do first. And believe it or not, I have people that I've taken in class with me, and they'll say, well, I didn't know that. And I'll say, and this is like at the end of the course, and I'll say, did you read the syllabus? And they'll say, no. And I said, come on, that's the first thing I asked you to do. How are you going to play the game if you don't know what the rules are? So make sure you read the syllabus. My contact information is on there. I answer my own phone, so if you ever need to call me, I'm usually the one that answers it. Email is fine too. Since I have an eternal quest to save students money, there is no textbook for this class, which most people will say, yay. You can say that if you want. So there's no required book. We might get some of our speakers have an article that they might refer to us and that sort of thing. But there is no, $100 textbook for the class. Textbooks are so expensive these days, aren't they? They're just hugely expensive. I'm going to propose that next week and subsequent weeks, would it be better that we start a little bit later to give more people time, starting such as like 6:30 instead of 6 o'clock? Because I know that people are traveling. Is that something that people can agree to? Or
Yes.
I'm not trying
For
to.
me, that would be.
That would be great.
Okay. Because we're not going to go to, we're not going to 9:30 every week. I tell you, at 9 o'clock. So it'll probably be a lot shorter than that most weeks. So is 6:30 okay if we start at 6:30 next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for me.
All right. I'm not hearing any strong disagreements. All right. All right. So let's take a look at our schedule. All right. We start on tonight, which is obviously May 30th, and then it ends on August 8th. So if you look down our schedule, you can see that we have the guest speaker's name. So next week we have a great guy and wonderful subject matter expert, Smith Kalita, who also happens to be an alumni of our program. He's going to talk about holistic approach to optimizing human performance. Then the following week on the 13th, we have Connie Malamed, who's a independent consultant, and Connie's going to talk about visual design, because a lot of the design that we do now these days is we're really designing for e-learning courses. So it's difficult to design for e-learning courses if you have no background in visual design or visual basics, because there are some good practices that you need to use in visual design. And I'll admit, I'm not an expert, but I was totally terrible in this. And then with the, advent of e-learning and the sophisticated graphics and the ability to create sophisticated graphics, it makes sense that we have a little background in how to use visual design to our advantage. So Connie's going to talk to us about that. And then we actually have the following week on the 20th, we have Jennifer Laban. Jennifer Laban is a subject matter expert in mentoring. She has a book on mentoring that was just published by ATD, the Association for Talent Development, and she's going to talk about mentoring programs. For the next 2 weeks, we have no class. I planned this in a way. I'm going to be out of the country for those 2 weeks. I'm going to be in Portugal, of all places. I've been to Europe before. I actually lived in Europe for a few years, which was fun. But I never made it to Portugal. I made it to just about every European country, with the exception of like Estonia and Portugal. So I'm going to be out of the country on those two. And actually, we wouldn't have had any class on July 4th anyway. So then the following week on the 11th, Catherine Zaranis is going to talk about learner readiness. She's done a lot of research in that area. And Catherine, also is an instructor in the program, and she's an alumni as well. On the 18th, Dr. Stu Weinstein is going to talk about instructional evaluation. Some of you may have taken Stu in Education 671, Principles of Training and Development. The following week, we'll meet asynchronously. We do not have a speaker on the 25th. And then on August 1st, we have Jeanette Campos, who some of you may have taken in another course, 603. And she's going to talk about 9 essential elements of learning. And last but not least is Mick McGill. Mick is quite a character. He's going to talk to us about job task analysis. And Mick is sarcastic as they come, and he loves sarcasm. So you can just get right back to him if you want to. So that's our schedule. That's our course schedule. We will record all these. So if somebody misses a class, they can see the presentations. If somebody comes to class and they want to replay the presentations, we will do that, and you have the opportunity to do that. Any questions about the schedule or the course, the guest speakers?
Greg, this is Karen. I switched to a different computer, so
okay.
I have on my.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. I can't see the syllabus in Blackboard, so I'm just letting you know. I don't know if other people can too. I can see everything else.
Okay.
Like, in the other topics, just not the syllabus.
Okay. So let's see if I can get there. Okay, can you see my screen where it says announcements at the top? Karen?
Yes.
See where it says announcements at the top?
Yeah, I can see that in Blackboard.
Okay, so it's right under announcements. If you click it on, you'll get something that looks like this. And then
okay,
what I'm highlighting, okay,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what I'm highlighting right now is a clickable link. You're not seeing this?
Let me try again. Last time I looked, I saw nothing. It was just blank, not even the word syllabus.
Okay.
At the top. Let me double check.
Did you see it in the navigation?
Yes, I did see it there.
Okay, and what happened when you clicked it on?
It says, I do see the word syllabus up in the upper left-hand corner, and then it says there is no content to display.
Are you using a Mac?
Yes.
I think that might be the answer.
Okay. Well, if no one else is having the same issue, then I'm sure it's something to do with my setup.
Yeah.
This is Dave. I'm actually having the same issue as well. And I'm using a PC.
Using the PC? Okay. Well, I'm not sure what's happening. All right, I don't want to dwell on the technical downsides right now, but what I will do is I will email the syllabus to both of you, so you have it. I think I might have emailed it to you in the course announcements before, but I might be mistaken. So in any event, I will go ahead and do that. So I'm sorry that you. They just did like an upgrade to Blackboard, and of course they always start the upgrades in the summer, with the theory being, well, there's fewer courses in the summer, so if something goes wrong, we have to fix fewer courses, which makes sense. But if you happen to be actually teaching a course in the summer, and there's a problem, that can be an issue. So we'll work it out. But I will go ahead and email the syllabus to Dave and Karen. Okay? Is that a plan? All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So, any other questions about the guest speakers or the course schedule? So, typically what I like to do is I ask you to have questions for the speaker. because I don't want the speaker to come and have a nice presentation and have a nice discussion and then say, are there any questions? And it's like silence. So I basically ask everybody to draft 3 questions. So hopefully that facilitates some discussion, and it normally does. So, all right, so the format. All right, so we're going to do some asynchronous, and we're going to do mostly synchronous, but there will be some weeks where we'll be asynchronous, and we'll have some discussions going on, some discussion questions. I really encourage you to participate in the class. I think you get more out of it by asking questions and participating, and that's part of your grade, which attendance is basically participation, of course, in e-learning. And the more you can add to the questions that people ask and add some new discussion take the discussion in a new direction, summarize, come up with some some constructive criticisms. Got that one wrong. That's always helpful. Okay, so the assignments. This isn't a super difficult course in my opinion. Okay, here are the assignments. You want your contact information, a brief student biography, questions for the guest speaker, like I talked about, the participation, and the discussion boards, participation in the webinars. They're 2 different things. And then essentially, I want you to have a final project. Final project is something where you select an issue or a problem in your organization, and I want you to, hopefully using a best practice, but it doesn't have to be, could be anything you want, develop a solution or an intervention that addresses the issue. So I want this to be as practical as possible. The final report, you can do a recorded presentation, you can do a written report, you can do almost anything you want. If you do a traditional report, I've outlined the number of words, 2,500 words, no more than that. Ideally, it'll be less. So those are the due dates. So as usual, the final project is like the last thing that you do. That's the major part of your grade, and no one has gotten less than a B in this course unless you totally don't do the work. So don't worry about, some people are so fixated on grades. I always like to tell people, don't let grades get in the way of your learning, which kind of sounds weird in a way, but some people are so fixated on getting a good grade that they kind of don't think about the learning part, which hopefully that's why we're here. But it's a very manageable course. So you'll see some policies about late grades and incompletes. And that is about it. Those are kind of like the highlights. Any questions on the syllabus? Because I'm sure you've all read it by now because it's so interesting. Questions? I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, good, you took me off mute. Could you also email the syllabus to me? I also cannot see it. This is Rebecca Don Guerra.
All right.
And this is Melody. I can't see any of that either.
You can't see it, or you don't have the syllabus?
No, I think I got it via email or something, but okay. When I click on it on Blackboard, it says no content.
That's odd. Okay, tell you what, I will email the syllabus to everybody, and then for someone that gets it twice, you can just delete the email, but then I'll make sure that I don't miss anybody.
Perfect.
Okay, is that a plan?
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, the syllabus I think is pretty straightforward. The assignments, I always like to have practical assignments, so you can use any organization you want. It doesn't have to be where you work. You can pick any organization you want, and God knows there's not a lack of problems or issues in organizations, so that should be relatively simple to find, I would hope. Okay. So those are the assignments. your responsibilities, besides the assignments, are the participation part. I want you to participate in the discussion questions online, and also, like tonight, in the live webinars. That is the easiest way to get a good grade. Okay, so if you've been in Blackboard, it sounds like some of you are having issues with certain things. Now, the guest speakers, so you can see when you click on the guest speakers, this better come up or this is not going to look good. Okay, so I've listed all the speakers in chronological order. So Smith Kalita is going to present next week. And if you click the down thing here, you can see his title and his topic and a bio. Okay, and that's the same for every instructor. Then I will place the recording right underneath that guest speaker's name. So when Smitty finishes his recording, I will post it right here, and you will have that right with him. So same thing with Connie. If I expand hers, you can see her topic title and then the description, and then she's added some learning objectives and so forth. So that's, and I've even put in the ones where there's no class, just so you realize I didn't forget a week. So that is the guest speakers. If you ever forget the live course information, like what's the URL, if it ever asks you for a webinar ID, I have it here. If you are in a situation, I don't know if you ever had a chance to use this, but if you're in a situation where I've had some people say, you know, I just got back, I just landed at the airport and I don't have access to a computer, but I called in and I listened to the class. You can do that. If you're in a situation where you want to participate in the class, but you're not at a computer, you can listen to the audio using your phone. And that's the phone number that you would use to go ahead and do that. The next item is discussions. I've organized them by week. So everything that you need to know for that particular week will be in discussions that begin and end on those dates for each week of the course. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, it makes sense to me. That's why I did it. So it might not make sense to somebody else. Then under supports, there are frequently asked questions that you can find some help for. There are also, you can actually put in an IT ticket, and they ask you, if you put in an IT ticket, it has like categories, and one, if I can find it, this is very small, Blackboard. So if you have you can put in a ticket for Blackboard if you want to, saying, hey, I can only see, your subject, I'm a student, I can, whatever the Blackboard issue is. And my experience is they respond better to you when you actually fill out a ticket as opposed to calling them. I'm not sure why, but that's been my experience. I'm sure there might be a reason for it, but I tend to get better results when I fill out one of these tickets, which takes more time, but I think you get better results. So, all right, so back to, so I try to keep my Blackboard courses relatively simple in terms of the number of items and navigation items. I used to be the total opposite. I used to have like a million things in the navigation column because I thought more was better, and I had like 5 different ways to access the same thing. And what I realized was I confuse people. So now I'm much more of a minimalist when it comes to how I put my course together in Blackboard. I don't try to give people too many options where they can get lost. Okay, any questions about the Blackboard site? Okay, I'm not hearing any questions. Let's see. Okay, let me get back to my agenda here. I've kind of lost it. Okay, so I've talked about the Blackboard site. I've talked about participation. We've discussed the speakers and the topics. I have talked about the synchronous and the 8. We're going to be mostly synchronous for the most part, like we are tonight. And then we're going to start at 6:30 for most, well, not for most, for every week that we meet. And let's see, I've talked to you about that I'm going to be out of the country, which is in the schedule. And so, questions, things that you like, you don't like, you're confused by, things you need clarification on.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
This is for Becca. For the final project, can we turn that in? Can we turn that in before the 15th?
Oh,
if we know that we have something going on that day. So
yeah, and that's that. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, there's no actually that's good because the date that I put in there, that's the last possible day that you would hand that in. But if you know, a lot of times people have work situations where they know they're going to be working on a big project, or they'll be on a travel schedule, or something like that. They'll be on a family vacation, that sort of thing. So yeah, if you want to turn it in earlier, that's fine.
Okay.
That is more than fine, actually.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Okay, unless you're chatting them in and I'm not caught up on it. Okay.
No, I chatted in earlier, but it's resolved once the mic got turned back on.
Okay. All right. Well, one of my approaches to best practices, and then we can end it up there for tonight. One of my approaches to best practices kind of relates to something that I'm not sure where I learned this, but I certainly didn't make this up. So, and somebody smarter than me probably knows the answer to this, but there's a concept that I like, and it's called find a successful person. And maybe you've heard it before, but this has been very helpful to me in my professional life, where a lot of the things that we encounter as employees, I'll just stick with employees because we have other roles as parents and sons and brothers and friends and all that. I'll just stick to employees. As employees, we're asked to solve problems, and a lot of times your boss says, well, here's a new project for you, and they give you a project, and you're really not sure how to do the project because it's a new thing and your boss needs it done and you work for him or her, and there you are with the project. So what I like to do is I always like to find people that have maybe done these things before, and that has worked very well for me. And how do you find people that have done things before? How do you know how to do that, group? This is the class participation part. What do you think is a good background to trying to find somebody? How do you know who to contact?
Well, for me, this is Melody. I like to reach out to counterparts in other departments.
Right. That's a good one.
How they do things.
I like that. Yes. Any other thoughts on that? There's only 5 or 6 of us, so I can cross everybody's name on the list who's already talked. I'm just kidding.
This is for Becca. Sometimes I'll go through my LinkedIn to see if somebody has a specialty that I don't have, that maybe I might know that person through a community, but may not know what their professional, specialty is. So that's been helpful to troll my LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Any other thoughts on this topic?
Hi, this is Rebecca Griffin.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. So usually a lot of times in the environment that I work in, we deal with like 19 different communities. So we have the opportunity to reach out to all 19 communities as well as the corporate employees, just to get an idea of their needs and what they are doing, so that we're doing, aligns with them.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So yeah, that's pretty helpful.
Now, if you work for a large company, and I think that Booz Allen and probably other companies similar to that probably have the same thing, I believe they have some sort of database where you can query the database. And let's say you're building an e-learning course or something like that, and you put in e-learning design. It identifies, I think, documents and sources and websites, etc., that help you create what you need to create or help you accomplish what you need to accomplish. And maybe our guest speaker, Smith Kalita, next week could answer that question if I remember, because he used to work for Booz Allen. But for some reason, that kind of sticks out in my mind. I'm not sure if that's true or not. So that's another way. But what I found out is the people that are very successful oftentimes have a good network of professional colleagues. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Seems like
Absolutely.
And
they might belong to a professional organization as well.
Right, which helps them meet more professional colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what I found is if you have a good network of professional colleagues, that's a great foundation for getting you a great deal of help, because there aren't many super unique situations in the world. So chances are, if you're a learning and development professional in ISD or whatever you are, chances are you're not going to be facing totally unique situations. Somebody's done it before. Somebody's addressed those things before you're being assigned these things by your boss. I'm seeing somebody's writing on Karen Tavares for technical problems I ask in the forums. That's a good one. So I've always found that, the more people you know, the better off you are, because then like you can check in your network. And usually successful people, I think, do a good job of kind of affiliating with other successful people. So I think that, to me, that makes a lot of sense. So, try to find a successful person, because he or she have probably, have gone through what you're trying to figure out yourself. So in many cases, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. But the difficulty with the network is you can't just, like, I can't sit down tonight and say, okay, it's almost 7 o'clock. I'm going to develop a network of 100 people by 8 o'clock tonight. It's probably not going to happen. So you have to, dig your well before you're thirsty. You have to constantly kind of expand your network and reach out to people and include people and help people. One of the things that I found with networking in your professional network is, have you ever been contacted by that one person all the time that they always want something from you? It's like whenever you see an email or get a call from them, they always want something. Can you help me with this? I need this. Do you have that? And have you ever had that experience? It's always this one guy that it's like, me, give me this, give me that. And it just doesn't really rub me the right way. It rubs me the wrong way, as a matter of fact. So you don't want to be that person, right? You want to be the person that's helping out as well. So, like the old days when we used to write letters 100 years ago, I remember I used to ask my grandmother, how do I get letters? And she said, you have to write letters, Greg. You have to write letters to get letters. And the same concept's kind of true. How do you get help from people? Well, you have to give them help. You have to be open to helping them on an information, being a part of their professional network. One good way to do this is, somebody mentioned earlier, professional associations like ATD, ISPI, they have local organizations. You know, there's ATD has one that meets right here, actually, at UMBC. There's a Metro DC one that meets in Northern Virginia. They're always looking for people to help out. That's a great way to meet people, find out more about our profession, find more out about subject matter expertise issues. So I think developing a network is really important because it helps you to find that successful person. And it's not a perfect strategy, but you know what? It kind of works. It's worked fairly well for me. Any other ways people figure out how to do things? We've talked about a number of them so far.
When you were talking about, you know, like helping someone with something and then, you know, like receiving help in return, it like put me in mind of a few years ago, like my company was unfortunately hit by like downsizing a few years ago, but we used to have a really robust like community of practice.
Right.
And it really and truly was the like best thing in the world because there's so many people that like, you know, work within like training or you know, like within ISD, and like a lot of them are like very nichey. So, you know, we had one person who was a like tech writer and they exclusively, you know, helped with the publication of all the manuals across the company. And then there was somebody that was like the, you know, like LMS guru. And it just really helped when we had that like community of practice because, you know, most people that are in this field, like, you know, we're not that siloed. We usually kind of dabble, you know, we do this and that. And it was so nice to be able to reach out to those like experts and, you know, then, you know, to like be able to, you know, like receive their help and then say something. And, you know, if you ever need any help with blank, then.
Yeah. Okay, Karen, I think you're unmuted now.
Thank you. So one of the things that I've done in the last couple of years is I've tried to make an effort to find a mentor. And mentors, like if they don't know answers to specific problems, a lot of times can point you to who could.
Right.
So if you know the mentor and the person that they point to knows the mentor, sometimes that can be, you know, just sort of something in common. You know, so-and-so asked me to ask you this question. If you don't know, fine, you know, just to get help that way.
Yeah, that is a great way. For Dave on the community of practice, a long time ago when I worked at Montgomery College, the job I had there was, and every community college has one, you were in charge of training for organizations external to the community college. So, and it was a profit center, which is difficult to be a profit center when you're a nonprofit. But anyway, our job was to basically find training situations and get a contract with the organization to develop and then provide the training that they needed. We had a community of practice because somebody realized that, hey, there's one of these that exists for every Maryland community colleges, and I think there's either like 16 or 18 Maryland community colleges. So we used to have a community of practice where we met in person, like once a month. We would go to a different community college. And it was great because, number one, they did pretty much the exact same job as you did. And right from that point of view, you kind of felt like, they know me. They kind of feel my pain. They understand what it's like. They know what it is to walk a mile in my shoes. And that went a long way. And it was just a great way to learn a lot very quickly. And you didn't have to reinvent the wheel, and it saved you time and it saved you money, and it worked very well. So yeah, communities of practice can be very good, but somebody's got to manage it, and that can be can take a lot of time. So, any other thoughts on how we go about our best practices in terms of solving issues?
This is Melody. I once upon a time, when in a former career, I would belong to the Chamber of Commerce, and we had a similar type setup where we would get together a bunch of business owners and not only trade leads if we had them for each other, but we really were helping each other solve problems in our businesses that other people may have experienced that we were just now experiencing. So that was a great forum for us to have that collective knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps a great deal because you don't have to experience the same pain or same bad experiences as somebody else. So yeah, those I think work very well. Anything else?
This is Rebecca. I think it's important that whenever you're out there in the community or in your workplace, since we're talking about workplace, is to make sure that you go into conversations having an open ear. It's easy to go in and take over a conversation, but it's really important to be a good listener because you might totally miss otherwise what their specialty is and how they could help you if you don't have an ear that's open to hear what others have to say. Yes.
As somebody once said, right, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you talk, or something like that. Yeah. Not exactly sure how that goes, but pretty close. Yeah, listening is very, very helpful, and it's we talk about it all the time, but some people still don't do it very much. So yeah, Rebecca, that's a great point. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anything else?
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
So in your experience with giving help and getting help, do you think it's best to wait till you've given help to someone before asking? Like, how do you avoid being that person that asks too much?
Well, I mean, if you're in a situation where, like, say, you're volunteering for one of the local associations, you're already helping. So I don't think it's out of the question in that case to say, hey, after you get to know somebody, have you had any experience with X, Y, or Z? But yeah, you want to have a little bit of a relationship before you ask them for a million things. So, I would say just kind of use your common sense. Don't ask for a lot at first, and, do it after there's, some sort of even minimal relationship. You don't want to say, hey, I'm Greg Williams, and what can you tell me about developing best practice? You don't want to jump to that. You want to have, a little bit of common sense and a little bit of kind of professional courtesy, because again, you don't want to be the person that's constantly asking for things. Like, I can think of one guy that I used to work with on some consulting projects, and he worked for a government contractor, and I don't know if he had difficulty, finding the right employer, but he was always like off the he'd be on a contract for 6 months, 9 months, and then he was always contacting me. He's like, oh, I'm out of a job. I need your help. Well, that was the only time I ever heard from that guy, was when he needed help finding a job. And it wasn't like we were friends. We kind of like worked together on a project. We weren't really friends, but every time he emailed me, it was always about him finding a new job. So you don't want to be that guy. You want to be someone that hopefully provides some value to the people that you encounter and the people that you work with. What I have found to be true also is, and you folks probably know this because you're smart folks, career-wise, when you have a strong network of people, you tend to find out about certain job opportunities that are unadvertised, that are not yet public, because you have people that might be recommending you. You have people that are in positions of influence or work in certain types of organizations. So when you have a good network, that really helps your career, because you hear about opportunities that, quote, the average people don't necessarily hear about. So it's also a huge advantage when you're looking for a new career opportunity to have a good career network. professional network, I guess I should say. Has anybody had experiences like that? I'm not hearing anything, so I don't know if no one's had the experiences or if your microphone is muted.
I've helped people in that regard when I've heard of something come up.
Good for you.
I've been able to reach out, and that's been a rewarding end to be on.
Good for you. That's nice. Yeah, I kind of believe in that karma where, you know, the more you do for people, that it kind of comes back to you at some point in life. Maybe not right away, but hopefully it does.
I would say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I would say that was true of my current situation. I've helped people with jobs that I have found to be open and knew about them before. And that's also how I came to be in the position that I'm in now.
Oh, okay. And I've gotten jobs that way. So, you know, I think the misperception is that some people think that, well, you know, so and so got the job because they knew somebody. But think about it. If you recommended somebody for a job and then they got the job and then they fell flat in their face because they were incompetent, you wouldn't recommend them for that job if they were incompetent, right? Because that says something about your reputation. So when you're recommending somebody for a job, obviously you want to make sure that, yeah, they can do the job. It's like, you know, sometimes people think, well, they got the job because they know so-and-so. But it's like, you know, I've been in a situation where I've had, you know, someone say to me, it's like, well, if you couldn't do that, if I didn't think you could do the job, I wouldn't have recommended you. So it's not just the fact that I know you, it's the fact that I know you and I knew that you could do the job. But there's a misperception on that. Anyway. All right. We are at the end of our agenda. Before we sign off, any parting questions or issues or things that we missed? Questions?
This may be covered somewhere, but when we're submitting our questions for the following week's webinar on Sundays, is
Right.
there a special place that we submit those questions?
Actually, I will put like a little placeholder in Blackboard for those.
Okay.
Worst comes to worst, you can just like email them to me, but I'll put a little placeholder in Blackboard for those. Okay. Anything else, folks? Okay. Well, it was nice meeting everybody. I look forward to working with you, and I will either see you online this week or we will meet synchronously next week, where our guest speaker will be Smith Kalita.
Excellent.
All
Good
right,
night.
folks.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Wonderful. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.